Hello, everyone. I'm Natasha Negria, and I'm part of the industry programming team here at TIFF, and welcome to the 16th annual edition of Telefilm Canada's Pitch This at the Toronto International Film Festival. Telefilm Canada's Pitch This is an opportunity for us to help jumpstart feature film projects. This program is one of many of our amazing professional development programs at TIFF, including Talent Lab, Producers Lab, and the year-round TIFF Studio program. We're very happy to see some of our alumni from some of these initiatives pitching their projects to you here today. Telefilm Canada Pitch This would not be possible without the generous support of Telefilm Canada, so thank you, Telefilm Canada, and please welcome Stephanie Azam from Telefilm.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think I always say this, but this is really one of my favorite events at TIFF, and I think it's actually probably one of the most popular events. It brings together two important things that we nurture at Telefilm: creativity and marketing, or the ability to tell and sell a great story. As you probably already know how it works, 6 teams have 6 minutes to pitch a dramatic or documentary feature film idea to a savvy audience and a jury of experts. The winning team will take home $15,000 in development funding from Telefilm. It says applause. I'd like to thank our partner for Pitch This, the Toronto International Film Festival, which is celebrating the 40th anniversary. Over the years, it has played an important role in promoting homegrown talent, both veteran and emerging. Both TIFF and Telefilm have seen enormous changes in how movies get made and marketed. We've both responded to the commitments, we've both responded with commitments developing new talent and supporting lower budget films. Telefilm's micro-budget program, Telefilm's micro-budget program is now in its 3rd year. It supports emerging filmmakers in the production and release of their first feature film, with an emphasis on digital platforms. Projects are recommended to us by a diverse group of industry partners. We're pleased to see that this year, Fire Song by First Nations director Adam Garnett-Jones and feature-length documentary Bienvenue à FL by Geneviève Duluth-Dussel are in this year's festival lineup. Both Bienvenue at FL and Fire Song were supported by the micro-budget program. And there are other low-budget films that TIFF has embraced this year. The Rainbow Kid, Sleeping Giant, and The Waiting Room, all financed by Telefilm. And so if you haven't seen them, don't miss them. They're amazing. Past winners of Pitch This are also seeing their concepts come to life. This year, we have funded Pat Mills' Don't Talk to Irene, which won Pitch This back in, it doesn't say, I think it was probably 2008. If he's here, he can. So we're really excited to see this film finally come to fruition. And 2005's Pitch This winner, Richie Maida, went on to direct award-winning Siddharth, which recently got a lot of accolades. So it's nice to see the progression of Pitch This winner to films playing at TIFF. So without further ado, please join me in thanking our impressive jury members for being a part of Telefilm Canada's Pitch This, and good luck to all the competitors.
So I just want to give you a little background on our host for the event today, Sydney Chu. Sydney is a studio alumni with a body of work that focuses on feature films with international appeal. For example, he was a producer on Bang Bang Baby, which won the Best Canadian First Feature Award at TIFF last year. We're thrilled to have Sydney host today's Pitch This event today. Please welcome Sydney.
Thank you, Natasha, and thank you, Stephanie from Telefilm Canada. It's so great, even though it's a little blinding, to see such a full house because we have such a great lineup of filmmakers presenting their work. So a little housekeeping in order. Again, I'll go through sort of the past winners, the juries, and really get down to it and introduce the filmmakers. So, last year's winner, 10,000 Happiness by Johnny Ma, won the Beijing Screenwriting Competition. There we go. And was developed by the Sundance Institute and is due production in spring of 2015. The Engineers, with Daniel Beckerman and Daniel Coburn, should begin production shortly. Dan Beckerman has gone on to do many things, including in 2013, Bang Bang Baby by director Jeffrey St. Jules, which won the TIFF Features First Award for a Canadian filmmaker. Daniel Coburn was recently commissioned by the NFB to direct his tribute film in honor of Adam Egoyan, entitled Sculpting Memory, and that was for Egoyan's receipt of the Governor General Lifetime Achievement Award. Doubles with Slight Pepper. That was, and forgive me if I pronounce this incorrectly, Ian Harnarin. The 2012 winner has gone on to currently co-writing The Time Traveler with Spike Lee, the adaptation of David Cheriandi's landmark novel, The Succulent, and the short version of the pitch-winning film Doubles with Slight Pepper, screened at the Brooklyn Museum alongside Pan, Our Musical Journey. The Flying Stars. Walter Forsythe, Nagardi Conte George, and Alan Tong. In 2011, the Flying Stars, now called Leon Stars, made Pitch This history by being the first and only documentary feature-length film to win at the competition. The Flying Stars received financing from the Sundance Documentary Institute, and the film, after a long gestation, had its premiere at the Montreal International Documentary Film Festival and screened to a sold-out audience at the New York African Film Festival. So let's give them a quick round of applause. So again, a quick introduction for those of you who are first-time attendants to the Pitch This competition. We have 6 teams, 6 minutes, and a chance to win $15,000 in development by 6 jury members sitting amongst you in the audience who are a mystery, and some of them right there. Actually, no, they're sitting right in front. Fantastic. And so we like to think that there's one winner, but I like to think that they're all winners, and I'm sure there's somebody in the audience who feels generous enough to come up to the filmmakers afterwards and provide them with $15,000 as well. And so I like to think that this is just a great opportunity for all the filmmakers to really show their work and continue to persevere and fight for their films to get made. So on that note, you can find out the pitches on tiff.net/pitchthis. And we'd also like to thank the pitching coaches. The pitching coaches come from veteran filmmakers in the industry who have spent their time and energy to help craft these pitches for you today. And so we'd like to take this minute to thank Anita Lee from the National Film Board, David Miller from Agency 71, and Howard Wiseman, who is a writer and director and head of the screenwriting department at York University. So we'll take a quick moment to introduce the jurors, and we'll try to get right into it. So the jurors are looking at the projects very much like a producer. They are producers, looking at the attractiveness of the project, feasibility of completion, and the impact it will have with having the prize money. So let me introduce, and we'll save the applause once I introduce all 6 jurors to the very end, and we'll get into it. So first we have Karen Harnish. Karen began her career producing short films. Her first feature, The Oxbow Cure, was a collaboration of directors with Calvin Thomas and Yona Lewis. It was hailed as poetic and potent by the Globe and Mail, and uncommonly brave by CinemaScope. This year's Karen's sophomore feature, A Sleeping Giant, which I believe is playing at TIFF, is directed by Andrew Cividino, thank you. Premiered in competition at La Semaine de la Critique in Cannes, where it was lauded by critics by the French Metro as Canada's Stand By Me. So if you get a chance, definitely come out and check it out. Karen is currently pursuing her master's degree at University in Toronto in film as well. Sort of. And she is also an alumnus of the TIFF studio program. Liz Cook grew up in Washington, D.C., and has worked in France with the U.S. State Department. She has worked in India with composer-musician A.R. Rahman. She was an acquisitions manager in the digital distributor Snag Films in New York. She is currently the film outreach leader at Kickstarter in Brooklyn. Catriel Shori, producer and executive director of the Israel Film Fund. After studying in New York Film School, Catriel returned to Israel in 1973 to join Castel Films in Jerusalem, where he was head of production. In 1984, he formed his own company, Bell Films Limited, and produced over 130 films, including award-winning feature films, documentaries, TV dramas, and international co-productions. In 1999, he accepted the position of the executive director of the Israeli Fund, the main film fund in Israel that supports and promotes Israeli films. And in his position, he is authorized to support the production of more than 230 new Israeli feature films. Samantha Skupp, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Prior to joining Film Buff as content manager, Samantha held positions at theatrical distributor Film District and indie film production company Killer Films. From 2008-2010, Samantha lived in Japan, where she taught English. And she has always been passionate about cultures and international cinema and received a Bachelor of Science degree from Cornell University. Sandro Fiorin, in 2006, Figa Films in Los Angeles he started Figa Films in Los Angeles with Cuban-American Alex Garcia to discover and distribute Latin American content in North America and internationally. Raised in Rio de Janeiro, he went to film school in Sao Paulo and New York, where he lived and worked for 14 years before relocating to California in 2001. Over the past 20 years, Sandro has held positions in the Film Forum, Universal, and First Look Films. Sandro has also been invited to be jury members on a number of festivals, including Sundance, Rotterdam, Istanbul, Cannes, Toronto, San Sebastian, and United Nations in Geneva. So that's the juries. Ladies and gentlemen, just give them a quick round of applause. Thank you. So, our first pitch, Brown Girl in the Ring, the prequel, with Sharon Lewis. Let me give you a quick introduction of Sharon Lewis. Sharon began her career as an actor in the Cannes-nominated film Rude, the first all-black above-the-line Canadian feature film. Sharon later became the first woman of color in Canada to host a national primetime talk show with CBC's Counterspin. And she wrote and directed the short film Change, which was played at the Chicago International Film Festival and won the Best Short Sci-Fi at the Eugene International Film Festival. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sharon Lewis and Nigel Sean Williams.
Imagine a world where spirits walk amongst you, but only the chosen can see us. It's here in Toronto. The year is 2048. The wealthy have abandoned the city and walled in the poor. No sanitation, limited electricity, and no formal government, and spirits running wild. This is the burn. This is the world of the film Brown Girl in the Ring, the prequel. An abandoned urban ghetto run by a sorcerer, a drug lord, and his right hand, crack. And it is only young Tijong who has the power, through her connection to me, Papa Legba, to bring the burn dwellers to the side of good. But our young heroine doesn't want the world of spirits. She only wants love. She only wants hot Tony. But there are consequences when you disobey me, as she will soon find out. I've entrusted this story to be told on film by a very experienced, very talented, very passionate director. She has directed over 100 hours of broadcast television and has won several awards for her shorts. She's been nominated for both Leo and Gemini Awards and was voted one of the top 10 most powerful women in Canada. And she is standing in the circle, ready to take on Brown Girl in the Ring.
Thank you, Papa Legba. All right, so why a Caribbean-Canadian dystopian film, right? Well, it's never been done before, and I am a vertically challenged person, and like most vertically challenged people, I got something to prove. Or the real reason is this film is inspired by a badass novel. So there I am, I'm studying directing at UCLA in Los Angeles. I walk into my favorite black bookstore, I look up, and I see my friend's novel, Nalo Hopkinson's Brown Girl in the Ring. And I swear, I opened up my arms, it dropped into my lap, I opened up the book, I started reading, and I was immediately transported to a dystopian Toronto, my Toronto, infused with Caribbean spirits, Caribbean patois, drugs, survival, Mad Max type survival, and on top of that, Tijan is the protagonist, and she's a teenage, single, black mother with superhero powers, as long as she accepts possession by Papa Legba. So Tijan is me. She's a superhero fighting for her voice. I'm an artist fighting for my voice in what can sometimes feel like a dystopian landscape. So am I the only one that loves the book? No. It's printed in 4 different languages. It never goes out of print. Nalo Hopkinson goes on to be a prolific science fiction writer. Reason number 2 to support this film, we already have an alternative sci-fi audience built in. So I option the novel, I get some money to do some research and to write the script. I write the feature film script. The federal government comes, they're attracted by the script, they offer me development money from my tax and from the Digital Media Master's Program to adapt my script into an online game. Whew! All right, gaming development. That forces me to distill the story down to one essential question. Who will rule the burn? And that's when I know. This is a coming-of-age identity story up against a dystopian backdrop. And I already know the location I want to shoot at. That's where I shot my short film. It's dystopian, it's contained, it's affordable, and it's booked. I know I don't want to use any expensive CGI. I would like to use Carnivalesque characters for my spirits. And I also know with a character-driven film, you have to have a kick-ass cast, which I do. This is my dream cast. I also know you cannot do this film on your own. So I have a spectacular production team. They actually make me say that. Spectacular production team. So we need additional funds, and they put together an Indiegogo campaign. They raised $40,000 in private funds, 116% over our goal. Not only that, our investments come from 14 different countries, showing us that there's support outside of Toronto for this film. We also get mainstream press, sci-fi blogs, social media buzz, and the film isn't even out yet. So we are rocking. We take this information, we think about our strategy. This is what we're going to do. We're going to roll it out at festivals. We're going to win awards at festivals. And then we're going to do event screenings. Black History Month, Caravana, Comic-Con. Reason number 3 to support this film, we already have a base of supporters who have put their money where their mouth is. Okay, so what am I doing here, right? So we have pushed this boulder, I'm telling you, that's what it feels like, up the hill. And when I look down, I see a base of supporters and fans who have been wanting to see this book made into a film for years. And when I look up, we're inches, honestly, we're inches from the top, and we see 5 judges. High 5 judges. They can just help us get that boulder up the top. We are going to shoot in 1 month, and we have no post-production funds. We have exhausted all of our resources. We've really worked hard to get this film made. We need $15,000 to hire an editor to get a rough cut so that we can then take that rough cut and shop around for post-production funds so that we can then take those post-production funds and be back here, TIFF 2016, with Brown Girl in the Ring. So we invite you to join the Brown Girl movement. Thank you.
Wasn't that amazing? My job gets so much easier when they do stuff like that. So, pitch number 2, Passover, by Daniel Schachter and Constance Malpel. Daniel Schachter is a writer-director from Montreal. In 2008, Schachter wrote and directed his first short film, Three Mothers, which was picked up for several prizes on the festival circuit, including the A&E Short Filmmakers Award and the Best Short Film at the Rendezvous de Cinéma in Québécois. In 2012, Daniel wrote and directed Entre Chien et Loup, starring Monia Chokri, and screened in international festivals, including Palm Springs Film Festival. Passover is his first feature film, and Daniel also writes and records music with label Secret City Records, so very busy man. Constance Malpel has acquired experience in different fields of the film industry. She started working for the French sales agent Memento Films International as a festival assistant, and then moved on to becoming coordinator in charge of TV and VOD sales. After 3 years, she moved to Montreal, where she started working with Peripheria Productions as head of development and collaborating with producer Yannick Letourneau. Please welcome Daniel Schachter and Constance Malpel.
Hi, I'm Constance Malpel, Head of Development at Peripheria Production, founded by Yannick Letourneau 15 years ago and based in Montreal. I'm here with Daniel Schachter, writer and director of Passover. We worked with Daniel on 2 of his short films, Three Mothers in 2008, and then later in 2014 with Entre Chien et Loup. When he sent us the script to Passover, we just fell in love with it. It's a really unique take on the classic redemption plot. The context is a family reunion that goes topsy-turvy over the course of a long and wine-soaked night. But without further ado, I will let him tell you more about it.
Hi, guys. After I wrote my first feature film, I had a first AD look at it, and he said that it would cost about $5 million to make. And it's almost impossible to get that much money for your first film. So when I started the next one, I set out to write a cheap movie. The whole movie would take place in one location over the course of one night. And those are the limits that I imposed on myself, and I kept to them. One house, one night. The script ran wild in just one respect: the cast. There are 29 characters in Passover, but it gets even messier than that because most of them are falling down drunk by the end of the movie. You see, they've all gathered to celebrate Passover, a big Jewish holiday, at Uncle Maury's house, and one of your religious obligations at a Passover dinner is to get loaded. The movie fades in on a black Jaguar pulling up to a big house, one of those stone houses in Westmount, overlooking the St. Lawrence River. Inside the car is an old man, Shimeon. In his hand is a briefcase, and inside the briefcase is a subpoena. You see, Shimeon's son, Barry, a Montreal politician, was recently arrested on several counts of fraud and corruption. And now the old man is getting dragged into court, and he's furious. But Barry isn't the old man's biggest problem tonight. His biggest problem is going to be his daughter, Barry's sister, Sissy. Sissy and Shimeon had a falling out when she was just 17 and got pregnant. That was in the 1960s. Now Sissy is very sick, she shows up to the house practically being held up by her husband and by a black man, Sean, who everyone assumes is Sissy's nurse. But Sean isn't Sissy's nurse. He's her son. And she's going to tell them, but she has a dramatic flair, Sissy. And she waits till after the 4th cup of wine. And they still have a long night ahead of them because the biggest blizzard in decades, which really means something in Montreal, has buried their cars under 2 feet of snow, and nobody is going anywhere. They are stuck in that house on top of the hill, and they're going to have to deal with each other and all of their hang-ups. Passover isn't your typical understated, low-budget movie. It's going to be a big, loud, entertaining multi-plot with elegant camera work and overlapping dialogue, tackling family and tradition, religion and war, history and war, religion and death. Those might sound like grandiose themes to take on from inside of a kitchen in Canada, but using the Passover ceremony as a backdrop allows us to do it, because we can connect its legends and rituals and songs to what's going on inside the hearts and minds of the characters at the table. And because this isn't a particularly religious bunch, there are a lot of fun ironies to play on too. The only true believer is the old patriarch, Shimeon, but even he's starting to have doubts. Late at night, when everyone is fast asleep, he has a vision in the dark. It's an epiphany, one that goes against everything he believes. And the next morning, he will look at Sean, his flesh and blood, in an entirely new light. Not that Passover has what you'd call a happy ending.
At this point, Jessica Paré, Monia Chokri, Jacob Turney, and Dana Drury have all told Daniel they want to play in a film. That's 4 actors down, 25 to go. Yves Bélanger, who shot Dallas Buyers Club and Wild, also agreed to be our DOP. We've partnered up with Paul Scherzer at Six Island Production in Toronto, and we recently found a Canadian distributor. We've been supported by a development by both SODEC and Quebec Art Council. Now, we really need to cast the film, and the prize money would allow us to do so by hiring a casting agent. We'd be really happy to tell you more about the project if you have any question after the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks.
I love drunken dinner parties. They're fantastic. Pitch number 3, Mohammed 6, Matthew Hannum, Kaveh Nabatian. Matthew Hannum is a film editor and occasional writer-director living and working in Toronto. Being born in Winnipeg, he was charged with the undefinable weirdness of Manitoba. As an editor, he has worked with some of Canada's most celebrated filmmakers, including Denis Villeneuve, Don McKellar, Bruce McDonald, and Guy Maddin, to name a few. His work has been seen around the world in Cannes, Locarno, Sundance, and his home in Toronto. He most recently worked with Borderline Films on Josh Maughan's directorial debut, James White. Kaveh Nabatian has spent the last decade directing, shooting fiction films, music videos, television series, and feature-length documentaries from all over the world, including the Nunavut, Haiti, South Africa, Mexico City, Montreal. His Juno Award-winning band, Bell Orchestra, has released 2 records and has toured everywhere, including the Baltics to the Yukon. His work confronts the gap between film and music. He aspires to make films that have the immediacy of music and make music that has the evocative energy of film. Please welcome Matthew and Kaveh.
So we're going to start with something really special for you guys.
We have a live feed from the star of our film, celebrity chef Clive Degas.
Hi, Pitch This. It's Clive Degas, and I'm here live at my restaurant to talk to you about a project I'm very passionate about because it's about my passions, my passion for travel and adventure and for food. And the best way I know how to convey that passion is to cut up a fish. That's what I'm going to do for you right now. It's the first ceviche I ever learned. Max, you're in the shot. Sorry, chef. Sorry. It's live. It's Mike Cameron. Max, yes, I got it. Every story is a recipe, and every recipe is a story, and the best stories to me are about love. Now, who would fall in love with a weird-looking fish like this? Nobody, because you fucked it up, Max. You fucked it up. No, that's it. It's over. It's done. It's done. That's it. We're stopping. They can watch the show if they want to see what I do. This is not what I do. This is not what I do. Yeah, stop apologizing. Put the camera down. You know, how much is it? $15,000? Why don't they give it to someone who's actually prepared and know what they're doing? Or better yet, pitch this. Give the money to the fisherman in Uruguay who taught me this recipe, who could actually use the money.
Sorry about that.
So, Mohammed VI is a road movie that follows the crew of Clive Degas' A Movable Feast throughout Morocco. Low-budget reality television provides the backdrop for a psychological drama about a celebrity chef who's over the hill and the show's producer, both of them stuck in lives they never wanted.
We hit the ground running in Casablanca with a team who've been doing this together forever. They walk and talk through the Medina, eat something with a hot local chef, and talk a little history and culture, then just repeat.
Clive can still turn on the charm for the camera, but when the cameras are off, he's a disaster. He hates his job, and he takes it out on everyone around him, and especially the show's producer, Ellen Song, who happens to be his ex-lover. Ellen used to be a successful actress, but she gave it all up in order to have a kid. Now, in her mid-40s, she resents that decision, and she's sick of taking care of Clive.
As we travel through the beautiful and exotic country, Clive's bad habits begin resurfacing. Drugs, girls, and endless late nights make it nearly impossible to shoot the episode. And this relapse pushes Ellen over the edge, and she finds herself standing up to this star in a way that no one else is able to, which only serves to drive him further away.
By the time they get to Tangier, Clive is completely off the rails. He tracks down a drug dealer who lives on Mohammed VI Boulevard. At first, the dealer is not really happy to let this weird foreigner in, but they're eating the Friday night couscous, and Moroccan hospitality obliges. Inside, there are bricks of hash lying around, there's a gun on the table, and Clive gets pretty nervous. But at the same time, the food is amazing, and the vibe is electric. This is the best he's felt in years.
When he doesn't show up for work the next day, the crew carries on without him, shooting B-roll and one-sided interviews, thinking that eventually he'll just turn up. But after a couple of days, the conflicted Ellen has to step in and take over the hosting duties, which makes it difficult to carry on, but...
But she manages to take over the whole thing, yeah. And the next day, the hotel is found ransacked. Clive's hotel room is found ransacked, and the police come in and tell the crew that they're not allowed to leave until the investigation is finished. Ellen quickly realizes that all of this drama that's going on around her could make for some amazing television and could be a chance to relaunch her career.
In a dead set on this idea, she seduces the cinematographer and convinces him to escape the hotel. They're going to retrace Clive's steps and find him and shoot everything along the way.
When Clive's belongings wash up on the beach, the international media arrives, and a distraught Ellen becomes the star of the story. Her career is being relaunched, but she feels responsible for Clive's death.
And as the investigation circles the crew, Ellen busies herself with work, scouring the footage for clues until she finally turns over the right stone. Maybe Clive isn't actually dead.
So all of the characters in this film are based on our own experiences working in reality TV. I worked with one very popular adventure host who was so anxious that he needed one of these white noise machines in order to sleep. And even when we were like in the jungle sleeping in hammocks, he'd take 2 of these things and crank them to full volume next to his head so no one else could sleep. Clive needs a white noise machine to sleep too. And it's this sound that's going to tip Ellen off.
I can tell you, I've been working as an editor for 10 years, and the most interesting stuff is usually found between the takes. And in this film, we're going to exploit those rarely seen dramatic moments and when the mic is left on or the camera's still running.
If we win today, we're going to shoot a series of tests and improvisations with the actors so we can fully develop this script and flesh it out.
We'll use that material to create a series of darkly funny viral videos in the vein of Winnebago Man or something like that. Featuring Don McKellar as a temperamental star, and we'll use those clips to pursue crowdfunding in addition to begging the government for money.
Think Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential meets Antonioni's The Passenger in a film about people running away from their past.
Mohammed VI combines comedy, psychological drama, and suspense in a road movie set against the evocative and sometimes terrifying backdrop of Morocco.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Three down, three to go. We have dystopian futures, gripping family dramas, exotic locale road movies. What's up next? Pitch 4, Claire from the Bus, Jordan Canning, Kjartan Hewitt, Andrew Nicholas McCann Smith. Jordan Canning has directed more than a dozen short films which have played all over the world, including Tribeca, Toronto, and the Interfilm Berlin. In 2013, Jordan directed all 13 episodes of the CSA-winning series Space Riders, Division Earth for CTV.ca. Her first feature, We Were Wolves, premiered at the 2014 Toronto International Film Festival and is being distributed by VSC. She graduated the Director's Lab at the Canadian Film Centre and is an alumnus at the TIFF Talent Lab. Kjartan Hewitt is a writer and actor living in Toronto. He's appeared in over 50 productions, which can be seen on this season's Saving Hope, Dark Matter, Murdoch Mysteries, and Rain, as well as his upcoming feature, sorry children, Clusterfuck and Cold Deck. Claire from the Bus is his fifth full-length play that's being adapted. Andrew Nicholas McCann Smith is a Toronto-based producer. Smith started out writing late-night comedy for Fox, and before founding First Love Films with Laura Perlmutter. First Love has won a Canadian Screen Award. He is alumnus of TIFF Studio, Berlinale Talents, and the Transatlantic Partners. He has produced 2 features, Don't Get Killed in Alaska in 2013, and A Trip to the Island the same year. He is currently developing a multi-platform series, Whiff World Chronicles, starring Tomo Penniket. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jordan, Kjartan, and Andrew.
There's a girl at your work. There's that guy at your coffee shop. There are all these anonymous flirtations and tiny fantasies that we keep separate from our real lives.
Every morning on his commute to work, Ralph has Claire, and Claire has a rather compromising video of their Skype conversation, if you want to call that a conversation. Claire's aggressive pursuit of Ralph is going to force him to reevaluate his life or watch it be burned to the ground by her.
Hi, I'm Andrew Smith, and I'm with First Love Films, and the slideshow hopefully will be cued properly. No, it's not.
You're getting a sneak peek of all the slides.
And I'm up here with Jordan Canning, director, TIFF alumni director, and writer Keratin Hewitt of our upcoming comedy, Claire from the Bus.
Claire from the Bus. You better hope that bus doesn't go under 50 miles an hour.
Okay, well, that's speed.
Claire from the Bus. You'd better hope that girl isn't under 18
Yes.
miles an hour.
No, okay, not that one.
Claire from the Bus. Two star-crossed lovers on the southbound line discover that age is really just a number. Like a super important number that should be disclosed between two parties because there's an awful lot of
Yeah, mostly it's
ramifications.
about love and being true to yourself with, just a pinch of sexual blackmail. In a society that commodifies female sexuality while simultaneously slut-shaming women for having it, Claire takes that power and wields it like a giant, sexy Thor hammer.
Or any real sexy weapon. I mean, a sexy katana or a sexy bow staff.
Yeah, like sexy nunchucks.
Sexy tear gas.
Yeah.
I put up Claire from the Bus in 2013 on stage. We used an awful lot of transmedia elements like the text messaging you guys just saw. And the visual motif of the play really inspired me to write a screenplay, which I then took to First Love Films and Jordan Canning here.
And we saw the play and we loved it. We were blown away by its ballsy irreverence as well as that it was actually really funny. Rachel McAdams was sitting behind us, and she loved it too.
Rachel McAdams was there?
She was cracking up.
She was laughing.
Really? She liked it? She liked the play? You guys talked about it?
Yeah, she's got the
Yeah,
cutest
she's
little
like-
snort laugh.
Yeah.
That's adorable. You guys are killing me. Did you guys see the new season of True Detective? Because I have some feelings about that.
What attracted me
though.
to the story was the complexity of the characters, especially Claire. Claire is this Molotov cocktail, a mix of uncompromising youth and beyond her years' wisdom. With her skewed moral compass, she walks the line of an anti-hero, something we see all the time in some of our favorite male characters, but not nearly enough in female roles. Claire is so smart and funny and sexy. We know this will be a sought-after role for some really exciting actors.
Some of our reference films are the true-to-life romantic woes of Forgetting Sarah Marshall and The One I Love, as well as Stranger Than Fiction, just anything that is that surreal, as well as the wit and pace of basically everything that Edgar Wright has done to date. That's me kissing a Culkin because I wasn't in charge of the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, it's the cute Culkin.
That was me, sorry, Kara. Between the three of us, we're responsible for producing and creating 3 feature films. We've also done 2 of Canada's most impressive web series, and we've done shorts that have played across the world, including TIFF, Locarno, Tribeca, and Sundance. We've won these awards, and we're looking forward to doing it again with Claire from the Bus. So where are we at right now? We have partnered with the CFC for the features program, and we're looking to shoot this next year. This is how we plan to put it all together, and obviously we're pretty far along. But the most important thing is we need an awesome cast for this to work. So I have my eye on hotshot American casting director Jen Houston, who's responsible for some under-the-radar shows, and she loves the idea of Claire. And so what we're hoping to do with the prize that we get today is we'd love to hire her, bring her in, start the casting process so then we can come back in TIFF 2017 with our awesome new comedy, Claire from the Bus.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Let's give a quick round of applause to them because, we're up here, we're so calm, cool, and collected, and there's always going to be little technical issues, but they did a really good job. And I want to thank all the staff and behind-the-scenes technical work that happens to make this whole show happen, so that's great. Pitch number 5, EVE by A.J. Bond. A.J. Bond is an award-winning filmmaker and storyteller with a background in acting and a bold sense of design. In 2003, A.J. graduated from the UBC Film Production Program as a producer of the breakout short, Why the Anderson Children Didn't Come to Dinner. A.J. went on to produce a number of series of successful short films with director Jamie Travis, including The Saddest Boy in the World and the Patterns Trilogy. In 2007, A.J. made his debut as a writer-director with the time travel short Hirsute, which premiered at TIFF and has screened at 50 international festivals and garnered 9 festival prizes. His last short, the fantasy Madame Perrault's Bluebeard, had its international premiere at Clermont-Ferrand. And AJ has been invited to attend both the Berlinale Talent Campus and TIFF Talent Lab. Most recently, AJ toured Canada with his award-winning feature film documentary thriller, Stress Position. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome AJ Bond.
Imagine waking up one morning to find a new email from a friend who died 8 years ago. That is just the latest mystery surrounding my new documentary, EVE. The film actually begins in 2003. That's when I first met an eccentric cancer patient named Ballard White. Ballard and his wife hired me to film their journey to an ancient Inca healing site in search of a miracle. But deep in the Amazon, we found something else. A 5-year-old Aboriginal boy named Daru, who claimed he was a direct reincarnation of his own father. It was uncanny. Daru could vividly recount every detail of his father's life, but only up to the day that Daru himself was conceived. That was the moment he said his father's memories were passed on to him through his seed. Ballard was obsessed. As a retired scientist, he attempted to get a grant to study this, and he was laughed out of every lab in the country. Before long, Ballard was back in hospital, and our film was forgotten. But then a year later, Ballard contacted me saying there'd been a breakthrough. He had a virus. I interviewed his oncologist, who explained that Ballard's cancer was actually caused by a rare virus. And if Ballard ever had children, this virus would be passed on to them as well through his DNA. This did not seem like good news to me, but to Ballard, it sounded identical to what we'd heard in the Amazon. So 2 weeks later, against the advice of his doctors, Ballard and I are on our way back to the jungle. With great difficulty and very little ethical oversight, Ballard managed to procure a blood and saliva sample from Daru, enough to map his genome. Now, scientifically, it has been well established that only 8% of the human genome is actually switched on. The rest is what scientists call junk DNA. But in Daru, it was more like 9%. That meant that some portion of his junk DNA had reawakened. So what is in our junk DNA? Well, scientists say that it's actually full of ancient viruses. This is true. 45% of your genome is made up of EVEs, endogenous viral elements. Ballard had a theory. What if one of these ancient viruses had somehow encoded Daru's memories into his DNA, such that it would be passed on to his children as an instinct? The same way, for example, that a cow knows how to walk the second it's born, or a bird knows how to fly south in the winter. To prove his theory, he bought 500 mice. Mice share 98% of our genes, and Ballard literally started switching them on randomly, looking for this virus. He would then take the mice and run them through a classic mouse maze. He would breed them, and then he would test the children in the same maze to see if any memories were passed down. He did this for over 2 years, his cancer continuing to spread. To keep ourselves focused, we started taking bets on which mice would run the maze the fastest. One morning in January 2007, I lost $800 when an entire family of 8 newborn mice each ran the maze perfectly on their first attempt. I called it bad luck. Ballard called it reincarnation. That is when word got out, and the government immediately shut Ballard down. It turns out genetic testing in your garage is illegal. They said that the cause of this reincarnation was obvious. A batch of mice that had already memorized the maze must simply have been mislabeled as newborn, perhaps even deliberately. Devastated, Ballard was rushed back to hospital, and within the year, he passed away. The footage from this misadventure has been sitting on my shelf now, unfinished, for 8 years. Until last summer, I was doing press for my first feature, the documentary thriller Stress Position, when I received an email from Ballard.
Allow me to introduce myself. I am Ballard White. And for the record, I did not mislabel any mice. I am living proof that my theory is correct. I don't expect you to believe me. AJ has always been a skeptic. That's why I've chosen him to tell my story. But I am certain that when all the facts are revealed, you will agree that I am the new Eve.
I don't know if any of this is true, but I intend to find out, and in the process craft a fascinating documentary about stubborn ambition, cutting-edge true science, and the strangest father-daughter connection I have ever heard of. Thank you.
And last but not least, pitch number 6, Demonology, Daniel Perlmutter and Laura Perlmutter. Daniel Perlmutter has been working as a writer and director for the past 15 years. His last feature film, Big News from Grand Rock, starring Gordon Pinsent, was selected for the TIFF film circuit and was nominated for 3 Canadian Comedy Awards. Previously, he co-wrote and co-produced Peepers, a dark comedy distributed by E1 Entertainment, and was nominated for 5 Canadian Comedy Awards. He was the recipient of the 2012 Governor General's Performing Arts Award mentorship program, where he was paired with Eugene Levy. Laura Perlmutter is a film, television, digital media producer committed to creating innovative and original content. She graduated from the Canadian Film Centre's Producers Lab program, and she also co-founded the First Love Films with Andrew Nicholas McCann-Smith. Don't Get Killed in Alaska was released theatrically in November 2014, and A Trip to the Island, along with several shorts, has played at all international film festivals, including Sundance, TIFF, Locarno, BFI London, and Not Short on Talent in Cannes. She is currently developing several features, including a TV series, an online series, Rift World Chronicles, which is online at cbc.ca. Please welcome Daniel and Laura Perlmutter.
Imagine you go away for the weekend with a person you love, and they start acting a little strange, almost possessed. What would you do? Demonology is a new horror comedy about the fear of commitment. It's the story of a couple that go away for the weekend to deal with their relationship issues, but end up facing off against demons as well as each other.
Play the video. Sam and Kate are a couple in their 30s. They've been together a long time, and they've recently decided to get married. So they find this alternative rabbi because, they're not really that religious, but Sam wants to honor the traditions and rituals of the ceremony. But Kate doesn't get it. I mean, it's not like they believe in this stuff, so what's the point? Really, why are they having this ceremony at all? So the rabbi says, listen, I can see you have some unresolved issues here. It so happens I have a place in the country. I use it for families, people going through hard times. I want you to go there for the weekend. Take the time to try and answer the question, why are you getting married? Sam loves this idea, but for Kate, the idea of a frozen winter weekend talking about your feelings sounds like a nightmare. So she invites along her best friend, the funny and flaky Leah, and Leah's know-it-all boyfriend, Dave. It's not what Sam wants, but what are you gonna do? So they get up there, and right away the place is kind of creepy. There are these strange decorations and paintings on the walls. There's weird books on the bookshelves. And there's the oddly young and attractive caretaker, Claudette. Kate is creeped out, but Sam, ever the Pollyanna, just wants to embrace it. And soon he's found some snowshoes and is off for a walk in the woods. He finds a clearing, pulls out a joint, but as soon as he's had his first puff, he sees something shining in the snow. It's a ring on the finger of a young woman. He picks her up and carries her back to the cabin. She's in shock and half frozen. The gang doesn't know what to do. Well, Dave has his own expert medical opinion, being a music critic for an online magazine. But Sam decides to call Claudette, the caretaker, for help. She arrives and fixes a strange elixir, feeding it to the girl and then putting her to bed. Kate thinks they should go for help, but Claudette insists it's going to be okay. She even offers to stay and make them dinner. The others are a little uneasy, but they decide they might as well try and make the most of the evening. Over dinner, Leah, who has New Age tendencies, starts to ask about all the occult trappings around the cabin, and Claudette tells them about demonology, the worship of demons. Leah pushes for more information, but Claudette suddenly excuses herself and leaves, as if she said too much. While upstairs, the girl from the woods continues to sleep. Downstairs, Sam brings up the wedding. That's why they're here, after all, and he's a little freaked out that Kate seems so resistant to the idea. But Kate doesn't get why Sam's so easygoing about it. Has he really thought through what it means to commit to each other for the rest of their lives? The mood turns dark. The couple start to lash out at each other in unnatural, aggressive ways. Leah starts to suspect something is up, but it's not until the girl wakes up, comes down and attacks them as if possessed by an unholy force that Leah's suspicions are confirmed. There's a demon at work here. Kate and Dave manage to subdue the girl, and though they're skeptical of the cause, Sam and Leah start looking through the books, trying to find a way to expel this evil force. When the rabbi shows up, they think their problems are solved, but he's not there to help them. He's there to use them. He wants to perform the wedding ceremony because the wedding ritual is a source of power, and he's going to use that power to summon forth his demon master, committing Sam and Kate to all eternity to this demon. Now Kate and Sam have to survive the night without falling prey to this trap, to this plot. And while those around them become possessed, and while their reality starts to fade away, they find they're facing off not only against this evil, but also against each other, as their relationship issues start to bubble to the surface. Getting married is scary. You have to really trust in someone, and that's difficult when demonic possession is an issue. But you also, when you commit to someone, have to face the demons within yourself. And yet it's a source of strength, and Kate and Sam are going to have to use that strength if they want to survive the night. Demonology is a comedy, not because it's a parody of the genre, but because it's about the reality of this situation. What would it really be like if you and your friends were up at a cottage for the weekend and had to face off against a demon? You know, what's the reality of that situation? Sam has to say a protection incantation, even though he's a little uncomfortable with some of the religious language. And Kate has to burn some lamb liver, even though she's not sure which piece of meat it is. We find the humor in the reality of these characters in this situation. At the end of the film, Kate and Sam find themselves trapped in a shack in the woods. And while the others close in, wanting to condemn them to an eternity of demonic damnation, they find that the only way to escape is to perform a ritual and bind themselves together. They do it and it works. They manage to get away, and they've come to realize that they do want to get married, that it's important to them. But they're going to have a civil ceremony.
Demonology is a new kind of horror, taking inspiration from films like It Follows and The Babadook, films that have been taking the genre in a really exciting new direction. Part psychological horror, part head trip, part relationship comedy. Innovative, character-driven horrors have been finding an audience, and Demonology plans to follow suit. And I've been collaborating with my brother Daniel for as long as I can remember. But this is my first official time producing his work, and I'm really excited about this project. We're developing the script right now. We're looking for a distributor, and with a budget of $500,000, our goal is to be shooting in January 2017. Daniel's previous feature, the comedy Big News from Grand Rock, opened theatrically in Canada this year, played across Canada with TIFF Film Circuit, and is nominated for 3 Canadian Comedy Awards tonight.
And was a previous winner of Pitch This.
Was a previous winner of Pitch This. And my work is shown internationally with distinction and awards at festivals like Sundance, Locarno, TIFF. And I won a Canadian Screen Award earlier this year for the short film Whole. So we're not new to filmmaking, and we're also not new to marriage. We're both married. Our partners are in the audience tonight. So we know a little bit about the horror and the comedy of committing yourself to another human being. But it's a story we're very excited to tell. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's give another round of applause to all 6 teams. So now, take a moment, think about who you would pick to win while our juries do the same thing. And let's keep the conversation going. If you liked one of the projects, feel free to talk to the filmmakers afterwards. Tweet, Tumblebook, Facebook, whatever, social message, and keep the conversation going. And join us for a happy hour where we'll have drinks and discussions. And the announcement will be made shortly. Thank you. Thank you very much to this year's Pitch This.